For the last time, Dale, I'm sorry my son beat you up, even though you're the one who broke into my house.
Irrelevant.
You're gonna need some pocket sand for this video. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about King of the Hill. Or more specifically, Dale Gribble. Yes, I know King of the Hill doesn't get as many views, but I don't care totally. No, it's easy to forget, but much like South Park or Family Guy, King of the Hill is a show all about jerks. And unfortunately, that includes Dale. There are a lot of unpopular characters in the show, like Peggy or Buck Strickland, but I feel like people forget Dale can be a horrible friend, like he almost rivals Bill. Don't get me wrong, I love Dale. He's a funny character and Nancy shouldn't cheat on him, but he's also a bad person when you really get down to it. The only thing I will say in his defense is he's meant to be a comic relief, whereas somebody like Peggy, I guess you can argue, we've all had a Peggy in real life. I, for one, was raised by a Peggy. But kinda like Peggy, he can do fantastical things and get away with them, especially when it concerns Hank or Joseph. So let's discuss. Here are the top times Dale Gribble was a horrible person, starting with the honorable mention. So this time, I thought about including this as a section. I almost actually did, but I can get why he didn't do it, and if the roles were reversed, I can see it from his perspective. John Force, a real-life drag racer who voices himself, needs a blood transfusion, and the guys decide to donate. Dale, unfortunately, doesn't want to.
So it's settled. We'll all go give blood together.
Count me out.
You disappoint me, Dale.
Get in line.
We're going to the blood bank and wear new I Gave Blood hats.
Now, as somebody who has donated blood a couple of times, yes, I get why he didn't want to do it. Getting blood removed is scary. Plus, ultimately, it's still his choice. I know I typically go on about bodily autonomy, my body, my choice, when it comes to women and AFABs, and of course, that's still important. But the thing is that we all have bodily autonomy. AFABs, AMABs, and bodily autonomy doesn't just mean carrying pregnancies to term. It could also mean control of your organs. And blood is technically an organ, I guess. Really, the only reason the guys care is because the dude in question is famous. If it were like a random neighbor, we'd probably never hear about it. The guys basically forced Dale to donate his blood, and when he passes out because Dale's afraid of blood, they tell him that he now has to donate his kidney to John Force.
But I need my kidney. It keeps my other kidney company.
Dang it, Dale, you're not even gonna think about it? We're talking about John Force.
Not for long.
And once again, he's forced to reject his own bodily autonomy. Which, yes, blood is arguably minor, it comes back, but a kidney, that's like a major surgery. You basically have to change your whole life, maybe temporary, I don't really know, especially in terms of drinking. And as far as Dale knows, what if his father needs a kidney? Or Joseph? Oh, Kitty. Yeah, I know, but Dale doesn't, okay? The point is, it's still a major choice, and he's basically giving away a part of himself to a total stranger. Not to mention that, as we learn later, John Force didn't even need it, meaning this was all for nothing.
But the funny thing is, after all that, John Force didn't need it. He just had a little blockage in his renal artery. We're able to pop it out like that.
Some doctor. So when Dale is still unconscious, Dale's doctor tells Hank that Dale's kidney is still usable for a bit longer, and he can give it to a young, dying boy who actually needs it, which Dale doesn't like. Instead, he wants to sell his kidney to somebody else.
I promised your kidney to a 10-year-old boy.
What? You can't do that! I can't believe this! You were supposed to protect me!
Okay, now this is a little tricky. I don't know. I do agree that ultimately it is Dale's choice, but at the same time, you can't exactly put something back in once you remove it. And I think even if he sold it, it would probably go bad before it got into someone. Even the doctor pointed it out. Granted, Dale eventually comes to his senses and gives the kidney to the boy, but not after much, craziness.
Now, Dale, hold on. Let's just talk about this.
No! Now, I'm going to need an unmarked jet and 2 parachutes, 1 kidney-sized.
The reason this is an honorable mention is because I guess what Dale did was technically bad, but I get why he did it. So it ends up here.
Peggy's had some classic stinkers before, but this one could be a fiasco of spectacular proportions. It could literally be a train wreck.
No, it's no secret that Dale and Peggy don't quite get along, and Dale is the most vocal about Hank's friends about disliking Peggy. If I had to guess, I think it's because the both of them are basically two sides of the same coin. They're massively insecure, but they cover it up with insane coping mechanisms and god complexes. Like how Peggy takes pride in the fact she's a substitute teacher, or Dale takes pride in the fact he's an exterminator who only makes enough to cover the cable bill. Often, he'll be rude to Peggy, but I think strangeness on a train takes the cake. Peggy is kinda like me and always has horrible birthdays. Like during her last one, she got robbed at the restaurant, and to add insult to injury, the dude blew out the candles. But of course, the only one who likes it is Dale because he likes to see Peggy in pain. This year, Peggy is having a birthday on a murder mystery train, with a themed dinner and everything, and things seem to initially be going well. Yes, one of the actresses didn't show, but hey, Luann is taking over. Too bad Luann has a big mouth and she has to ask a question. With Dale in earshot.
Why would he want to kill me? I mean, Jerry Hall.
No. Oh, no, Luann, no.
Roy Cohn did it!
With the mystery blown, the actors leave, even though, like, when they have a backup plan, I assume this happens a lot. Which ruins part of the party. I mean, it's like going to a bowling alley and there being no bowling.
Let's go.
No, stop. You could do improv. No. Wait, please. Come back.
Why doesn't Hank kick Dale's ass, I wonder, to this day? He's just sitting there yes, I did it. No, dude. Of course, Peggy does end up having a bad party besides that. The food goes bad, the cake goes bad, there's no alcohol, and of course, because there's no murder mystery, there's no entertainment. And Dale relishes in all of it.
The refrigeration went out and the chicken and prime rib were spoiled. And your ice cream birthday cake melted.
And there's no food!
Again, Hank never tells Dale to shut up or something. Geez, dude, I get it. You don't like you're on this train, but he's ruining your wife's birthday. You know how Peggy feels about that. Sometimes Hank can be an enabler for people other than Buck or Cotton, and it really shows here. Granted, Dale does end up feeling bad about it, so maybe it wasn't all in vain, but yeah, it is kind of annoying.
This is Peggy's worst birthday ever. I should feel on top of the world, yet I'm not. I feel strangely hollow inside.
The only reason I ever hung out with you was because of Boomhauer and Hank.
Oh, really? Then how come just last week you said you were my best friend?
I pretended you were Hank when I said it!
I think it's no secret that Dale doesn't like Bill. Probably out of all of his friends, he likes him the least. Honestly, they are a pretty good representation of friends who are only friends because they have a friend in common. Lately, Dale has been bullying Bill, and he doesn't take it all that well. So, he starts bullying him back, and it leads to a dude-vorce, which is basically where two friends stop talking to each other.
A dude-vorce is what happens when male friends break up.
It's true. I heard that 1 in 2 male friendships now ends in dude-vorce.
Yeah, it's stupid later season garbage like Cotton wants to be flushed down a toilet, even though he wanted to be buried in the Texas State Cemetery, and this was a whole arc where he actually was nice to Peggy for once, and not just so he can get buried there, or Peggy thinking her and Bobby need to dress up like Eminem's Mom Spaghetti's vomit to a birthday party, even if she was specifically told by the mother that the birthday girl was at that fancy class to have a fancy birthday party. I don't really feel anything because the pair aren't really friends to begin with. If it were Hank and Dale or Dale and Boomhauer, yeah, that would be massively different. But I guess we need a plotline. The proceedings for their dude-vorce happen, and they aren't pretty.
Boycott Dale Gribble! He is an exterminator of bugs and friendship! Do not let him into your house or your hearts!
Of course, Hank hates this, and he hates how he apparently isn't allowed to remedy it. No offense, this is the one time Hank is probably, gonna be good about therapy. So when it comes time to flush Cotton, because this is that episode, he invites Boomhauer and not them.
Man, just shut up, man. I don't gotta do this for Hank, man. I just buy Hank, man.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you.
I've got 4 children.
I had someone earlier today with 8. Heck, I once killed a beetle with 30 million in her egg sac.
Dale is my worst nightmare, working in an office. Dale is told by a doctor that if he keeps exterminating using poisons, he'll die a young man. Even if I feel like he'll be fine if he just wears a mask or something. Even one of his clients pointed that out.
Shouldn't you be wearing a mask?
Mask, smask. Smask. Shh. Mask. Schmask. Mask, schmask. That's it.
Guess we need an episode. Dale doesn't find any purpose anymore besides laying around the house, making jokes, and causing messes. And they also have bills to pay, and this is getting to Nancy. So Hank decides to help out by getting Dale a job at an adhesive company called Stick Tech, which is in no way a homage to Office Space, aka a movie by Mike Judge that also features Stephen Root. Dale goes to work and finds that a normal, boring office job isn't his cup of tea. He has to join a carpool which commutes super early, he has to show the world his bald potato face, and he barely gets lunch.
Clear?
Clear. Can I go to lunch now?
Oh, I moved your lunch to 4. I need you to fill in for the receptionist. She's eating lunch.
Now, I'm somebody who, in a lot of ways, is self-employed, so I kind of understand Dale a lot better now, especially now that I've gone back to graduate school, and I'm not my own boss anymore. It sucks when you're your own boss, especially if you aren't all that good at working with others like I am, and then you have to go somewhere else and play by somebody else's rules, or relearn how to work with people.
Dale, I know you're used to being your own boss, but you've got to learn how to work with humans.
Humans? They won't even let me eat lunch until 1 o'clock.
A few weeks later, Dale does find some comfort in the job. His new job isn't filing, it's downsizing, and that means firing people. But his boss is too scared to do it herself, so Dale gets to help, and Dale does it really well. Because he's used to killing, and firing is just killing somebody's dream job.
I'm trying to fire this incompetent fool with compassion. Keep this up, Joseph. You're fired from this family.
Dale?
You're next, Blondie.
While this is going on, he also promised Joseph that he would help with his science project, which would be breeding servant roaches by making sure he was the first thing they saw before they hatched, which would make them think he's their mother, and therefore they'll have to obey his every command.
My every command.
His every command. But because he got too busy firing people, he forgot to also do the roaches. And this leads to them getting loose and going ham on the break room.
Line up single file and get back in the tank. Ah! They're not recognizing me as their maternal influence. The project has gone horribly awry.
This is why you need to make time for the roaches, Shug.
We'd all love to make time for roaches, but in the real world, people have to spend all night reconciling invoices or Miss Pippin won't let them wear chinos and a knit shirt.
My mistake. But yeah, Dale just quits because he realizes he can exterminate without poisons, even though he spends the rest of the show exterminating with poison, so
It's too cold in here. Oh, I can't feel my baby finger.
Are you supposed to feel your baby finger?
Dad? Darkness!
Sometimes I feel like Nancy doesn't deserve Dale, other times I feel like it's the other way around. Nancy Does Dallas has Nancy finally win her dream job of being a reporter in Dallas. What, you thought she got her dream job in Schaumburg? Which is a big deal in Texas. Dale tells her she shouldn't feel like her and Joseph are albatrosses around her neck. Just go live her life and she'll be fine.
Nancy, you said you wanted something bigger, and this is huge. You go, we'll make it work.
Yeah, do it, Mom!
That's my boy monitoring the monitor.
Kinda wonder where she's staying though, they never say, like did she get an apartment? She obviously can't be commuting. The thing is, throughout the show, excusing like 1 or 2 moments, Nancy is basically more of a mother or a nursemaid to Dale than a wife, like keeping him out of trouble, scolding him, etc. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Dale started to act like Dale after she married him, and that led her to John Redcorn with actual migraines, like maybe at one point it wasn't just an excuse. Even if that doesn't excuse or justify why she cheated on Dale, just explains them. Now that Nancy's gone, Dale decides to basically do everything he can do when she isn't around. Like sleep naked or order Applebee's on DoorDash? Well, kind of, if your version of either of those things is ordering a walrus, trying to heat your house up to prevent another ice age, even though it's not gonna happen for like millions of years, breaking into Hank's house when his electricity breaks, and a whole bunch of other likely illegal stuff. And he eventually ends up getting seriously injured courtesy of Bobby.
I got him!
The Hills try to tell Nancy to come home, but she has work.
Nancy! Oh, thank God I caught you. Okay, Dale?
Can't talk, Shug. It's my victory party.
Which I know the narrative frames as being bad, but when you think about it, is it really? Dale's cool with her taking a bit longer to come down, and honestly, Nancy could just call Dale to confirm he's alright, or drive home after the parade.
My baby's way too busy for that. Nancy's top dog at the station now, Hank. She's even gonna be in a parade.
Wait, Nancy's not coming back because of a parade?
Not to mention that Dale has a pretty good support network. He has a father and lots of neighbors, people who can watch over Joseph in the meantime. Besides, Dale didn't do it because she was gone. Well, I mean, he did, you know what I mean. He did it because he's an idiot who thinks he can get away with anything. And now that Mommy's gone, well, who's gonna care? Nancy ends up losing her job, but really, is it all that bad? Her co-workers are jerks themselves. It's like fighting fire with fire. So what if they can't ride in a parade? They still have a job. Yeah, she's like, oh Shug, I'm trying to get both of them fired, but one of them was already planning to get one of them fired, so again, is it really that bad?
I think it's time for some new blood on top of that float. And behind the anchor desk.
Couple of Texas beauties, perhaps?
I like you, Nancy.
Anyways, with Nancy back in Arlen, she's back to being Dale's nursemaid. At least she's fine with it, I guess. I don't know. I think a main reason I included it is because he also kinda did the same thing in The Exterminator, where because he's not allowed to exterminate anymore, he ends up laying around the house making messes.
Did it occur to either of you to set the table? Who ate all the chopped meat? That was dinner.
The roaches.
Excretion doesn't come from nowhere.
Ooh, I wonder what she was gonna cook.
I'd like to cash this for cash. 1,000 thousands will be fine.
Most of the $1 million checks we see are jokes.
Your job sounds fun.
Happy Thanksgiving. I record this on midnight of Thanksgiving. Bill and Dale don't get along, and I wouldn't be surprised if the only reason they keep talking to each other is because they live across the street. But outside of the bullying, I think this is among the worst things he's done to Bill. Bill and Dale have a bet where Bill will have to give Dale $1 million if he can't make a shot, and he's not throwing away his shot.
No!
Ha! You choked. You owe me $1 million.
The thing is, Bill assumes it's a joke. I mean, wouldn't you? So he plays along, like writing a check and everything. But Dale was dead serious. He even takes it to a bank where the bank teller offers to give Dale what's left of Bill's account, since it obviously isn't a milli.
Mr. Dotterive only has $418.75.
Okay. Then give me 400 Sacagawea coins, 18 Susan B. Anthony's.
Maybe there was a reason the teller at the bank made me fill out the signature section 3 times and then lectured me on my signature not being correct, even if I look identical to the person on the ID. No, clearly I'm an alien who got plastic surgery to make somebody's rent payment for them. Bill, of course, gets confused when he can't buy any groceries, and Dale explains.
Dale, stop talking like a lawyer and give Bill his money back.
What's the point? Bill would probably just go and spend it on something stupid, like himself.
Oh, in BTW, Bill never gets that money back. We do get a funny post-credit scene, though, which implies he's gonna move on to Bobby, but yeah.
You owe me $1 million!
Correction. You owe me $1 million.
I'm so sorry, Bobby. He made me do it.
Did you mean for all those words to come out together, or did they just fall out randomly?
Oh, Hank, you're just a mouse caught in the government's habit trail.
Outside of the whole John Redcorn affair, the thing Dale is best known for is his many conspiracy theories. Some episodes imply he does honestly believe them, others imply he makes them up for the attention, and others go with he's one of those people who does make them up, but he does believe his own lies in the process. Like the anal fissures around me. Well, what would happen if Dale became a patriot? I mean, he's already a conservative, although I'd argue he's more a libertarian, but we're halfway there. Well, he'd basically beat Dale, but in the other direction. One night, Joseph has a nightmare, so Dale decides to read him a story to help him fall asleep. The Warren Report on JFK's assassination. But Joseph asks a question.
Why is it called Dilly Plaza anyway?
Excellent question, Joseph.
But Dad, now I'll never be able to sleep.
You know, I was curious, and apparently it's named after a real guy, George Daly, who was the publisher of the Dallas Morning News. He also did a bunch of stuff like help establish Southern Methodist University and the Kessler Plan, which helped to establish Dallas. It'd be like LaGuardia Airport. Dale finds a spare copy to help explain to Joseph, but discovers his calculations are off.
This isn't right. I always thought west was this way. The motorcade turned and went out west.
He was like, oh, west? I thought you said east. And that maybe the Warren report isn't lying. This existential crisis is quickly solved by a cop who helps Dale, and he decides to devote his life to the U.S. by being a patriot, including painting on Hank's house, but not his for some reason. Like, what the heck?
Look, if the government is so perfect, why did they send me a license that says I'm a woman?
Because you're a woman.
Huh?
It makes so much sense.
What?
Okay, here's a problem. Throughout the episode, Hank's license got renewed, and somebody screwed up and put his gender down as female. Of course, nobody cares, but this is Hank we're talking about. I mean, he dressed in a suit and tie for his license photo. Wait, they let him keep his glasses? I couldn't. I'd look all derpy in mine. I'm like, ugh. So he tries to do whatever necessary to stop it while dealing with the bureaucracy. Even if, again, it's probably not going to be that big a deal unless he were to, say, go on a plane or something. It sucks, but he could just wait it out. Hank vents about his problem to Dale, who decides that Hank is doing this because he hates the government.
That the government's free cheese contains surveillance devices to monitor America's underclass, or that you're a woman. Enchanté, madame.
Even though it's very possible to like the government and still criticize them at the same time, and therefore he reports him to the FBI. Unlike most of the examples on this list, Hank actually gets angry enough to tell Dale off and tells him they're no longer friends. But a talk with Nancy convinces Dale to make things right by appealing to the bureaucracy with more bureaucracy. You know, I do kind of want to know how the status quo got restored in the end. He's like, oh, I'm gonna have a deep talk. Like, okay, the Warren report is still correct, Dale. Or is it?
They'll swarm all over you and sting you all at once. It's how they killed L. Ron Hubbard.
Fire ants don't sting you all at once.
That's not true.
Weirdly, out of all of the entries on this list, this is one of the few times Dale actually got karma. Dale is defined by his job as an exterminator, and one of the earliest episodes to establish this was King of the Anthill. The blog is having a Cinco de Mayo party, and to make his lawn look pretty, Hank gets some new Raleigh St. Augustine grass.
Okay, that's enough.
Hey, Hank.
I don't know how that compares. Nobody in Newark has a lawn. Dale offers to spray the lawn, but Hank refuses, and for this, Dale decides to get revenge. He lets some fire ants he's bred onto the property to ruin the grass, and whenever Hank tries to take care of the problem, such as by using Echo Kill, Dale just gets rid of it, thinking that Hank will have to hire him. Next to Ladybird, the one thing Hank loves above all else is his lawn, because he's an emotionally stunted man who doesn't like to show his emotions because his father gave him a mental block, and a lawn can't talk back to him about its problems. What Dale did was treason. To be fair, Hank does ask Dale for help, but because Dale honestly is not the best exterminator, all it does is destroy his lawn.
It's not fair. She was so young and green. I never even got a chance to mow her.
And when he finds out, well, the consequences are dire. Thankfully, Dale does try to redeem himself. In one of my favorite moments, he saves Bobby from some fire ants that swarmed him.
The ants will swarm on me.
What if they don't?
Oh, they will. They've been waiting to get a piece of me for 15 years.
Oh, it's making me itch. Like, ew. They're like biting him. Oh my god. Aww. Okay, I should have explained. Joseph and Bobby rescued some of the fire ants, including a queen. And Joseph explained to Bobby that the queen controls the other ants with pheromones, which also causes Bobby to be controlled.
That's the queen, stupid. It looks just like the one on my dad's truck. You mean Dale Gribble's truck? Yeah, my dad.
Now, me and all the fans are a bit confused on this, since it's early on and Season 1 King of the Hill really did feel like Beavis and Butthead's puke. So I wonder to this day if Bobby was really controlled, or since he was the weird kid back then, if it was some kind of a placebo effect. Or maybe if Dale bred them weird or something, I don't know. Because I could honestly see if this aired in like Season 12, they'd reveal that Bobby was like perfectly fine. But at least Dale made it right to his godson by potentially dying.
Luckily, it's not about what Joseph chooses because he's just a dumb kid. I'm his father and I say, we're going to Spencer Academy!
Really? Why did nobody stop him? Like, this annoys me to no end. Joseph and Dale have kind of an averted dynamic from Bobby and Hank. Whereas Bobby is horrible at sports, but Hank is all about being manly, well, Joseph is great at football, and Dale only likes to watch it and or towel manage. So as a result, while Hank can be a little more controlling of Bobby, Dale generally lets Joseph do what he wants, even if sometimes this can cause Joseph to become a spoiled brat. Recently, Joseph has become quarterback at Tom Landry Middle School, and his talents get noticed, especially by a scout sent from Spencer Academy, a prestigious private school that offers Joseph a scholarship on the condition that he attends the school and plays football.
It's about the best school for Joseph.
Are you really concerned about Joseph or just a Tom Landry fan?
I still think Joseph should have a say.
Now, Joseph obviously doesn't want to go, but a press conference has to determine this. Really, it's not that big a deal, guys. And Joseph, of course, chooses Tom Landry, since it's where all of his friends are, it's where he fits in best, and hey, it's still supposedly in Arlen, he could just walk there. But Dale overrules him.
So, are you excited about your first day of new fancy school?
I guess so.
Come on, you get to play football, there's some academic perks I can't quite remember.
Okay, this scene really royally pisses me off. I mean, Dale does here, but like nobody protests or anything. They're just like, oh no, like guys, they can't just say that Joseph doesn't want to go, like he made his choice. Like, it's still his choice. Even Nancy's there, aka Dale's wife and Joseph's mother, and she doesn't say anything. That like annoyed me to no end. Like, Nancy, do your job as a mother. But yes, Joseph is forced to go, and as expected, he's miserable. He doesn't fit in with any of the kids, and he isn't having any fun.
Dude, what is that thing?
Cherimoya. It's a fruit.
We should totally burn it! Or you could just eat it.
You know, when I started graduate school, I kind of related to this episode in a way, especially when Joseph's on the quad with all the kids and they're eating lunch. Like, that scene just like, oh, I did something like that in graduate school. How do none of the people in my cohort watch Rick and Morty or Has Been Hotel? I mean, I get Has Been Hotel, but Rick and Morty? But Dale forces him to keep going, and not only that, but to go hang out with the kids, who are likely only inviting Joseph on boat trips and the like, either out of pity or because their parents are telling them to.
I don't want to go, Dad.
Your future is depending on this, Joseph. You need to be on that boat. And if you get seasick, I want you to swallow it and smile.
Now, you can argue Dale's doing all this because he wants to live through Joseph and get all the perks, but in a way, you would be wrong. He genuinely thinks that Joseph would have a better future if he just stuck it out, and he wants to show his support, which I guess in a way he kinda has a point, but there's a few issues. First off, Joseph is miserable, and if Spencer Academy is one of those K-12 schools, well, he's gonna be miserable for a long time. Second, the Gribbles aren't rich, and Dale doesn't use the frequent events to, argument's sake, network for Joseph or something like that, just to buy stuff to show how much he loves his son. He's not like, oh, my son loves football. Your son loves football? Stuff like that. Like, yay, Joseph can go on a super expensive vacation to Brazil, even if Dale still has to pay thousands upon thousands for it and likely sell Joseph in the first place. And finally, with Joseph gone, Tom Landry is having a terrible football season, which is clearly the worst part about all of this, Avi. Who cares about Joseph's happiness? However, Dale makes it worse because instead of, say, just transferring Joseph out like everybody's telling him, or maybe just having an honest talk with Joseph that it does get better, he just needs to find a better group of friends, well, he drops him off on a rich person's doorstep.
Joseph?
I'm supposed to live with you now.
Aw, like the bastard he is. Yes, again, Dale had the best intentions, but it's one thing to abandon your kid and then lock him out of your own house.
It's for your own good. Yes!
I miss you, Dad.
You'll forget me soon enough.
I can't remember what you look like!
At least he paid for it in the end when he was fundraising to get him back into Tom Landry, but yeah, not the best aesthetic for Dale.
You're just some deluded bug sprayer who took a 4-hour course, learned a few chokeholds, and got a hat.
You are familiar with my credentials, yet you still refuse to give me a case?
Perhaps the one person Hank loves more than Peggy and Bobby is his dog, mostly because she's the only living thing who can't talk back to him or judge him, but he loves her all the same.
Ladybird Hill, you're beautiful. I'm honored you could share Ladybird's special evening with us, Buck.
Yeah. Let's make some hound dog. I'm late for a bachelor auction.
In Pregnant Pause, Dale learns about bounty hunters, or a pseudo-secret agent who is allowed to use violence and capture perps. He takes a class and passes, and his first assignment is basically him in another life, and the dude has guard dogs. Since Ladybird is currently in perhaps her last heat, Dale steals her and uses her scent— really, dogs have scents? To attract the dogs away.
Oh my God!
Let's get one thing straight, Ladybird. You work for me.
Keep in mind, he does this without asking Hank, her owner, and he locks her, a defenseless animal, in a locked car with no AC, with the windows rolled up. Like, even Hank points out she could have easily died if they weren't quick enough.
She's gonna dehydrate in there. Between this sun and the incredible airtight construction of an American-made truck, I'd say she's got about 5 minutes.
And if she was outside, she'd probably be, like, gang humped by a bunch of dogs. And remember, Ladybird is like super old by doggy standards, like poor girl. And instead of catching the guy he's supposed to, they just goof off and watch TV and SpaghettiOs. Don't worry, Hank and Peggy save Ladybird.
Borrowed one dog, purpose nab fugitive at 27 Whistler Terrace, signed Dale Gribble, bounty hunter. Damn it, Dale!
I like how he says it annoyed, like you'd think he would be angrier. But yeah, this is one of my worst fears. Like a kid or a pet in a locked car, unable to breathe, that's a horrible way to go. They basically end up dying in agony, and since they're so small and so little, they can't just get out on their own. Like, it's to the point where if it's a super hot day and I'm walking near parked cars or in a parking lot, I'll look inside just to be sure. Why worry?
Hello, Dale. I assume you're just here for a quick visit since you're taking up 2 parking spaces.
Your friend here just sold me a mess of carbon offsets.
Fun fact, my sister was born on the day this episode aired, and it also aired on the same day as I Dream of Jesus and the one that got away from American Dad. This episode deals with the concept of carbon offsets. Are those still a thing? I heard they don't work, really. It's like watching an episode complain about trans fats. And companies who try to go green, but not to truly help the environment, simply for PR purposes. Buck decrees that Strickland Propane needs to go green after a massive dumping scandal. They start off small at first, with stuff like carpooling, but Buck sees better potential in a carbon offset, where people pay money to have a tree planted. I don't know, the episode explains how it's green or something.
It's like a get-out-of-jail-free card for people concerned about the environment, but not concerned enough to actually do anything to offset all the carbon you've dumped on the earth.
He teams up with Dale, Bobby, and Joseph, and also Octavio, to essentially plant a forest, and to celebrate, they'll hold a concert. Only, he doesn't plan anything more than, like, a single tree, reasoning,
I liked the money, but didn't care for the digging. After that, the plan sort of formed itself. In my defense, things get awfully muddy when it comes to the environment.
Dale, that's still fraud, you know that, right? All of those people paid money. Of course, Buck is able to salvage it by using the gun club's trees as the forest and lying about it. And while Hank does get mad at Dale, well, most of his outrage is concentrated at Buck.
I told you it'd work, old top. Nobody knows where the real Strickland Woods is.
Yep, it certainly looks like you're gonna get away with this, sir.
But that doesn't change the fact that Dale still lied to everybody, stole their money, and got away with it. And yeah, Dale's there too, so yeah.
Don't look him in the eye, it makes him start howling.
Thought you could just waltz in here and kill me, did you?
Well, so did he.
Fun fact about rabies. If you get bit by a rabid animal and feel any symptom, even a small tingle in your finger, even like a tiny little cough, that's it, you're done. There's no going back and there's no cure. Sleep well and always remember to get your shots. And to kill a ladybird, Bobby befriends a raccoon named Bandit. And while I have problems with Bobby in this episode, because he's like a whiny little
I'm worried about Bandit. I'm worried about my dad. And Bandit.
Well, we're talking about Dale this time. Dale is hired by Hank to kill Bandit, but he gets bit and scratched up. And he's told by Nancy he needs to get a series of rabies shots, as there's a huge possibility Bandit could have infected him. And he could have also infected Ladybird.
Let's say I don't get the shots. Is it possible to live a normal life infected with rabies?
No.
Of course, we already established that Dale hates needles, so making him get one is hard enough. Imagine like a dozen. So he runs away, potentially infected, and he basically becomes a wild rabid animal. Don't get me wrong, I think it's funny, like when he steals a pot roast from Nancy and John Redcorn.
You need a shot, Shug!
But then it gets kinda dark, like strip away the comedy and you'll see what I see. He runs away into the woods and kidnaps Hank and Bobby, and the whole thing seems to be like something out of a horror movie. Dale's new plan to get better is to drain Hank of his blood, which would obviously kill him, and then replace his infected blood with the clean blood. I don't know.
Place my blood with your non-rabid blood, which will both cure me and give me all your knowledge of propane and propane accessories.
Dude, really? You're gonna kill your best friend in front of his kid? Of course, Ladybird comes and Dale gets distracted so nothing happens. But you want to know the truth? Dale, Bandit, and Ladybird never had rabies, which again is hilarious. Dale was basically acting under a placebo. I think they got that from Pfizer. Pizzifer. But when you take away the comedy, he was going to kill an innocent person just because he was too scared to get a shot. And it would have been for nothing in the end. Yeah, Dale, just get the frickin' shot. You get pizza after.
So long, suckers.
All I wanted was to sell a big house and get some respect.
All I wanted was a fall guy so I'd never have to take responsibility for my actions.
I don't think this gets brought up enough. Dale basically ruined some random person's life for like decades and never paid for it. Rusty Shackelford is Dale's analysis for all of his illegal gambits in times when he doesn't want the government to know who he is, and also the fake name he orders pizza with. Oh, I use Whitney or Kitty or basically whatever character I'm cosplaying as. Like, I put my Chick-fil-A order down as Bryce once. Basically, he's Dale's fall guy, and as it turns out, he's a real guy.
But that's impossible. Rusty died in 3rd grade.
I didn't die. I moved. You need to stop using my name, Dale.
I am not using your name, and I am not Dale.
Peggy's Gone to Pots reveals that Rusty Shackelford is a real person, and not a real guy who died like 20 years ago whose identity Dale stole. He's still living, and because of all of the mistakes Dale caused, his life has been ruined beyond repair. He points out he can't even get a job because the bank thinks he did all of the stuff Dale did.
I really need to talk to Dale. I'm trying to get a small business loan, but the bank thinks I'm the same guy who skipped town on a string of failing alpaca farms.
And he's likely saddled with tons of debt on top of that, and also has a criminal record. Like, Dale says that Rusty has Medicaid, like, maybe it's because he's that poor because of Dale. Rusty Shackelford returns to town, not to arrest Dale or sue him, which, to be fair, would be well within his rights, but simply to have him sign some form saying that he stole his identity, clearing the real Rusty of any wrongdoing. And Rusty spends the whole episode avoiding him and everything, even trying to fake his death to get out of punishment. Even though, like, I'd argue Rusty is being very polite about this, when again, he really doesn't have to be. Like, he could have gotten the cops involved if he had to. Like, maybe you can argue Dale is afraid of legal liability. I mean, he once got super afraid about smoking, even though he'd probably only have to pay like a minimum fine of like $200. But yeah, he probably won't be in that much trouble. I think the forms were just to confirm there was a mix-up. And besides, keep in mind everything Dale has done is Rusty.
Oh God, a gun. Die like a man, Gribble. Die like a man.
Just sign these forms so I can get on with my life.
Like, Rusty deserves his own spin-off. At least Peggy had the excuse that episode that she was unwittingly roped into an MLM again. Yeah, that rhymes.
I use it on days when I don't look my best. It's not even opened.
She sure looks tired.
Yes, but still doable.
Probably the only person Dale loves more besides Joseph is Nancy, especially after they reconciled in season 4. But that doesn't mean he's always been better to her. Nancy's 40th birthday is coming up, and this causes the station to believe she's too old to do the weather, and they replace her with Luann, even if Luann isn't reporting the news, just doing puppet shows. Apparently she has better mommy milkers than me.
Anyways, it's gonna keep raining and hailing and thundering and lightninging for a while, so hug your babies tight.
Nancy gets insecure about her age and appearance and decides the only way she'll get her job back is by getting a facelift, which is quite expensive.
$5,000.
It'll take us 20 years to save that kind of money, and then you'll have to make her look 40 years younger. And we'll never be able to afford that.
To raise the money, he decides to file a lawsuit against the Manitoba Tobacco Company, saying that his smoking habits ruined her face. But they countersue him for a massiver lawsuit and send him a bug in the mail to gather evidence, and not a grotesque flying water beetle bug. So to fight fire with fire, Dale decides to make it seem like the cigarettes really did ruin Nancy's appearance, and he insults her non-stop. But the thing is, to make her reaction seem genuine, he doesn't tell her why he's doing it.
I love the dress, but what's with the face?
What?
I'm just saying, you might want to get a sky cap to help you with those bags under your eyes.
And while I don't feel bad for Nancy when, say, Dale flirts with Sheila, I do feel bad for her here, because without context, and as far as she knows, this is domestic abuse. Like, think about it from her perspective. You have a horrible birthday, you get insecure about your job, a job that just fired you and treated you like crap, you're likely stressed in general and incredibly insecure, you basically lose your job, and your husband, who up till this point was your biggest supporter, just pokes at each and every insecurity you have non-stop.
So now nobody wants to see your ugly face.
I don't deserve this. You used to be a kind, loving man, and now you're a foul-mouthed monster.
Say what you want about the cheating, at least Nancy did care enough about Dale to keep the two separate. He even puts lemon in Nancy's face cream, which makes her break out in hives because she's allergic. That way he can lie and say the cigarettes ruined her face, which ends up costing what little of her job she has left.
My horrifyingly grotesque wife is leaving me because of my smoking.
Again, with context, it's horrible. Without context, it's even worse. Like, this could be a Lifetime special. Eventually, Nancy ends up leaving Dale to escape to Hank and Peggy's, and that's only when Nancy won't talk to him that he gets the message.
I need my Nancy.
So instead, he decides to make her realize that she's the most important person in the world to him, even if it means sabotaging her face. Oh, and he also subpoenaed her. On the bright side, at least he threatened to sue the station unless Nancy was rehired. Victory! But I do feel like if he did win the trial, or like if he did take Manitoba's counteroffer, Nancy'd be like, oh, okay then.
Come on, guys, please, get out of there.
Watch the anger. You don't want to end up like Big Jim, remember? He's dead.
I hate Dale so much in this episode. Actually, to be honest, the fan base as a whole agrees with me. Like, why isn't it on a worst of list that isn't mine? Dale likes to skirt the law, or sometimes enforce it, and this time it's the former. He digs a tunnel under Hank's house, quick before the hyena come, and this causes Hank's house to collapse, and the house to be considered unsafe to live in until he finishes fixing it.
It's gonna take a lot of hard work to repair this floor. And since this is all your fault, mister, I'm not gonna let you help me.
Hank and his family are going to stay with Cotton, even if Luann is right across the street and her roommates aren't there past like that one episode. I assume there's room. But Nancy makes Dale offer the Hills their place, likely because Dale is a spiteful child and he's both angry at Hank and at Nancy. He treats the Hills like they're staying at a roach motel, rather than being house guests.
There goes the mailbox.
You have an exploding mailbox?
That was your mailbox. And yes,
I do.
He keeps Hank and Peggy up all hours of the night, he forces them to stay in the living room, even if they do have a spare room, and he makes them pay for stuff he's offering, like toilet paper or food.
2 a.m., Dale wakes me up to spot him.
You're welcome to sleep here free of charge, but consumables are another matter. 2 rolls of toilet paper.
Not even like, Hank, it's getting kind of expensive, could you guys maybe chip in like 20 bucks? Like, no, he hands him a receipt and everything. You guys know, Nancy's right there, you could complain to her. This gets to Hank, and he accidentally cuts off Dale's finger, since Dale in all of his stupidity pulled a Beavis and put his finger in front of the blade. But the thing is, even if he was angry at Dale in the moment, it was an accident. But yeah, remember how I said sometimes Dale likes to enforce the law if it suits him? Well, he does here. And this is one of those times where the entire town hates Hank for like no reason, like one of those episodes that plagued the later seasons.
That is crazy. I live within 100 feet of him. How am I gonna fix the house that he ruined?
You seem to have a serious problem controlling your rage.
Dale files assault charges against Hank and then goes to a judge to get a restraining order, and the judge easily takes Dale's side and forces Hank of all people to attend anger management with a teacher who looks like Mr. Fraud's brother. While this is going on, Dale continues digging his tunnel with the boys, quick before the hyena come, and uses the threat of calling the cops to get Hank to do what he wants.
No time to gab, Hank. We got bigger fish to fry.
Come on, please, I'm serious.
Sorry, I don't speak surface.
Plus, to make matters worse, nothing bad happens to Dale this whole episode. He almost gets crushed by a truck, but Hank stops him by yelling at him to get the F out. He does lose his finger, but hey, they reattach it. And nobody chews him out for what he did to Hank, or the fact that he basically treated the Hills terribly when they were living under his roof. Really, Dale should lose more than just his finger. Maybe the finger in his pants.
Was that John Redcorn?
I know. How long does it take to steal a woman from Bill?
Okay, this one really annoys me. Like I said in my John Redcorn video, I feel like the show dropped the ball with him in the later seasons, even though they really had an out. They implied he was having a midlife crisis, hence why his character regressed, and that would have been a good in-character reason for all of these changes. And I thought the best way to finish off his arc would be if he got back together with Charlene and they decided to raise their daughter together, as now he would have a chance to pass his legacy onto somebody and actually be a father. But I don't like how it happens or the fact she never comes back. Bill starts dating Charlene, a single mother with 2 kids, Kate and Drew, who both have different daddies. Strangely, Kate sounds like Joseph if he swallowed rocks. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Brittany Murphy stopped voicing Joseph because of that, and not just because her schedule got busier.
Wow, what a beautiful lawn. It looks just like a golf course.
Well, thank you, Kate.
Charlene is perfect for Bill. She accepts him for who he is, after all, and Bill likes the kids just fine. Plus, Charlene is really hot, like her hair, oh my god. But Dale pries and discovers that Kate is Joseph's half-sister. The adults are content to simply let sleeping dogs lie, albeit put up defenses in place, like Bobby has to make sure the two don't like kiss or anything. But Dale ends up telling Nancy, who tells John Redcorn, not to mention that Dale now thinks that Kate is his daughter.
Maybe there were isolated incidents, but Dale always took precautions.
So now it's incidents?
Nancy, please. It's very complex.
But again, Dale is willing to ignore it. But here's where it gets list-worthy. Bill, who has no clue, karma's gonna get him, has invited Charlene and her children to move in. And for this, Dale doesn't stand because he thinks Bill would be a horrible father. At the welcome barbecue, he taunts everybody there.
Say, have you seen the 1987 film The Stepfather, where a seemingly loving man cozies up to a single mother only to go nuts and kill everyone?
And when he discovers John Redcorn is spying, he conspires with him to steal Charlene. Somehow, John Redcorn agrees.
Dale, are you asking me to steal your friend's companion?
I don't want my child raised by an idiot.
Yes, it's very difficult to watch an idiot raise your child.
Now, I have problems with this. John Redcorn isn't going back to his homewrecker ways so he can be a father to Kate or something like that, something moving. Or because maybe Charlene is genuinely unhappy with Bill. He's just doing it because Dale asked. Whereas Dale, look, I have problems with Bill as a character. I would not want to be around him in real life, but he's your friend, and he's actually happy for once. Let him be happy and screw it up on his own, like usual, like he did as Santa. Charlene is easily seduced by John Redcorn. So much for sweet little guy being a far better catch. And she lies to Bill and says she's always gone so she can go see her friends. Probably because they have Advil for her migraines. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, is how the episode treats the fact that Dale got into a situation that's none of his business like it's a good thing. With Bill, he agrees that John Redcorn and Charlene are good together because he hates kids.
I don't think I'm cut out for parenthood. Actually, I hate kids. I mean, not all kids, but just the ones that are around all the time. Dang it, Bill Cosby made it look fun.
No, you don't, Bill. You only hate them because they're both destructive, spoiled brats, and Charlene is saddling you with all of the work so she can go screw around.
Do you want me to cancel so I can watch the kids?
No. I was going to take the kids to Captain Bear's Pizza. Let them crawl over someone else's furniture for a change.
Plus, you're their stepfather, and speaking from experience, kids usually don't listen to a step-parent at first. So Dale basically ruined a healthy, perfect relationship because of his crazy conspiracy theories.
So Charlene and the kids are moving in with John Redcorn.
Sure was nice of Redcorn to agree to raise my child for me. Can't say I'd do the same.
I'm sorry, I have problems with Bill, but this one hurts me so much. Even though, yeah, you can argue it's kind of like karma.